Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of A Simple Fix. I am your host, Olivia. If you are new here, I'm so happy that you're here. And if this is not your first rodeo, you might hear or see that there are a couple changes. I got some new gear, and this new gear came to me in the best possible way. But before we get started, I wanted to quick do our highs and our lows. I really love when you guys DM me either on TikTok or on Instagram and you let me know what your highs and lows were for the week. It makes my day knowing that I'm not just talking to a camera and that I'm not just talking into a microphone, but the fact that I'm talking to you guys and that we are building friendships and building a little community between all of us is just, it's the best. So feel free to send me your highs and your lows. I would love to hear about it. But we'll start with lows because I think this whole entire episode is going to be one big high. I would say that summer has been kicking my butt a little bit as far as my capacity to do things. I feel like I am not able to be as consistent with the many things that I want to do because of summertime plans and lots of projects that are getting ramped up, and it's all really good things. But I think that I have realized that I have said yes to so much. All of those yeses are to great things, but I will say it is kicking my butt. But on the other hand, my high is that it is summertime. It's a double-edged sword. I think that I've been able to see some of my favorite friends and my family members and have been traveling and have been having just the greatest time. And so my challenge throughout the summer is to simply find balance and not feel like I have to do everything and not feel like I have to do nothing either. My other high, which goes right into today's episode, is about my new gear. So I'm gonna share a little story time with you real quick. Some of my really good friends, Caitlin and Andre, came and stayed with me last month. And Caitlin is an incredible videographer. And so I was asking her all these questions of what gear I should get and what the best camera would be that I could get for starting to do more videos on YouTube and creating more higher quality content. We got to the bottom of it and we were like, okay, a great entry point would be a Sony ZV-1. And then I'd been asking a friend of mine who is a music producer and an artist who actually did my little podcast jingle. I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, Jordan, I need your help. What mic should I get for my podcast? I have a feeling that the best option would be a Shure microphone, but I wanted to make sure. He sent me two options, and one was the Shure MV7. And then just a couple of days later, my friend Caitlin sends me a text and is like, Olivia, Andre and I follow these awesome content creators, Colin and Samir, and they have a newsletter called The Published Press. And they're doing a random giveaway on YouTube, and it was all of the gear that we were just talking about you getting. I saw the text and I'm like, oh, that's super cool. Awesome. Thanks for sending it to me. I'll take a look. And I didn't really do anything about it. I kind of just was like, oh, that's very cool. We'll see. I was reminded while I was on like a random hike with my dog, and I whipped my phone out and I looked at the video, and it was probably a good $1,500 worth of gear. And the only thing that I needed to do was subscribe to their email list. So before I subscribed, I closed my eyes and I just visualized what it would look like, how this would help my podcast and my YouTube channel that I'm wanting to put more time and energy into, and how this would benefit my creative endeavors. And I said, oh, thank you. Thank you. And I was saying thank you as if I had already received it. And it was just the weirdest feeling. And then I kind of just, I hit submit. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then about a week later, I am on my family vacation in Georgia, and I hop into my rental car and I habitually check my email. And the first email that I saw was like, you've won, or congratulations for winning content creator kit giveaway. And I was like, there is no way. There is no way. Out of the 20,000 people that subscribed to that email list in that week, I won. And so that alone is evidence that 2 episodes ago with the wonderful Julia Martin on manifestation, it works. It truly works. And I will never forget the gratitude and the gratefulness that I had felt before I even received it. And then I just, like I said, I just moved on, and it was the craziest thing. And so now you see me shooting on my Sony ZV-1 as well as my Shure MV7 mic. And those were the things that I had in my cart on Best Buy about to purchase. I look back and think, how boring would it have been had I purchased this microphone and purchased this camera before I even recorded a podcast episode or before I even uploaded a video on YouTube. And this brings me into the conversation that I want to have today about the only way you can get better is to get started now. So much has changed from when I started last year. I started at zero on everything from my podcast to my TikTok to my Instagram. I started all new accounts and I just went for it. And there are posts, you know how TikTok does like this on this day last year, and I cringe because they're so bad. My TikToks are terrible, but I couldn't have gotten to my 70,000 followers on TikTok had I not taken the time to just start. I wouldn't have gotten to my 11,000 followers on Instagram had I not just started. And I wouldn't have somehow thousands of listens on this dang podcast had I not just started. And all of that was built off of things that I already had. I think I might have spent $50 total on new gear for me to be able to create my podcast and do my TikToks and my Instagram. I mean, there was very little that came out of pocket. And I used my phone. I used a microphone that I had taken from my old roommate. Thanks, Mark. I made it work with what I had. And I proved to myself that I was dedicated enough to be able to receive these kinds of things, because I wasn't expecting it to be the thing that would make my content or that would be the catalyst for success. That's within you. That's not within the microphone or the camera. And now it's able to support me in the things that I already enjoy and love doing and that I've already dedicated my time and my energy towards. So today I wanted to do a quick little rundown of 10 tips for starting now. And a disclaimer here, a lot of this is coming from my own personal experience, which is in the content creation world. But I really do believe that you can apply this to every aspect of your life, whether it's your career, whether it's school, whether it's a hobby. I don't think that these are exclusive to content creation or being in the creative space, but that will be the lens that I am looking through. Tip number 1, change your mindset. Everyone starts from zero, even Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian had to get an Instagram one day and it had to have 0 followers on it. Sure, she might have gotten a lot of followers overnight, but she still started at 0. A new friend of mine and I were talking, and she was mentioning how she has a wild job in a very heavily male-dominated space. And she said, you know, when people ask me, how do you do it? How are you doing it? I think about the fact that there are so many people in this industry that are less competent, less passionate, less capable than I am and are successful in it. And if I am able to take my competency, my excitement and my passion and my capabilities and run with it, there's nothing I can't do. And I loved that attitude that she had. And I mean, she really is killing it in her industry. And that goes for you as well. There are always going to be people who have been super successful that are not as dedicated, that are not as passionate as you in whatever it is. I think about it when it comes to content creation. There are people out there that have millions of followers, millions of subscribers, and they don't care. They post the bare minimum and people still follow. And so what does it look like to be able to share quality content that really comes from the heart. If they can make it, so can you. So that is one aspect of changing your mindset. And I think the other aspect that is so important is recognizing that there is space for you in whatever industry, whatever atmosphere that you're wanting to enter into, especially when it comes to content creation. I feel like people are like, oh, it's way too overly saturated. I won't ever be able to make it in. But they're missing you. They're missing your creativity, your thoughts, your opinions, your content. Nobody can ever replicate that. So, a simple mindset shift. There are people out there that are way less capable, that are killing it. And there is always space for you because nobody can fill your gap. Tip number 2, take the necessary steps. I know for me, when I think about a goal that I'm wanting to accomplish, I get overwhelmed if I can't see the steps that I need to take from A to Z. I had to move my office around a little bit to create a filming space for this podcast. I had to create new accounts on all of the social platforms because I wasn't going to continue using my personal accounts. I had to block my friends and my family at the beginning because I was cringing at everything that I was creating. And I was low-key embarrassed and a little mortified. And it felt so scary putting myself out there and seeing that there were real people engaging with my content. Whatever step it is that you feel like you have to take, write it down, give yourself a deadline, and do it. Even if it's just one small step every day, that is going to be so helpful because even if it's just the small things, the further you go into this journey, the harder it is to turn back. So when you have all of these steps that are laid out before you and you're taking them one by one, you're getting further and further away from your starting line. So identify the things, the basic things that you're procrastinating and that you're saying, I'll do it later. I don't really want to do it. That makes it real. Identify those things and just take one step at a time. Tip number 3, be prepared for criticism. I truly feel like the luckiest person in the entire world because between all of my platforms, I do not get the craziest hate comments. I think that I have really found my people, which makes me so happy because I know that there are a lot of creators out there that get just crapped on every single day. And there are moments when people comment just the wildest things. And I had to learn that not everyone is going to like me and that is not the goal. The goal is to find the people that resonate with your content, that enjoy your content, and that will be there day in and day out, excited to see what you have to create. I think that there are definitely people in my comments that have provided criticism to me that has been helpful and that has not just been slander. And then there are those times when it's like, this comment was not constructive in any way, shape, or form. And those are the comments that I'm like, I couldn't care less. Your opinion to me at this point, I have no respect for you. You were not trying to provide any value to me. And a lot of the times you are projecting whatever is going on in your life onto me. Therefore, I'm not going to receive it. But the things that people do call me out for in a respectful manner, I take it to heart for sure because I want to learn. I want to hear from my audience in that way. We have to decipher constructive criticism with trolling just in general, but setting the foundation that you understand that not everybody is going to like you. And if your video ends up on the wrong side of TikTok's For You page, that you can be resilient and that you can continue on without feeling like you've been completely demolished by anonymous keyboard warriors. Number 4, don't do it for the money. I say this because had I started this a year ago and was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make so much money and I'm going to become a content creator and I'm going to pay all my bills with it and I'm going to go on vacations and I'm going to drive nice cars, whatever. Had those goals, I would have burnt out in a week. I look now and see how all of these efforts and my platforms have allowed me to double my income. Yes, but it took a year for that. It was not just a quick, simple fix. It was something that took dedication and long hours and hours of me editing my TikToks or my podcast episodes until 2 a.m. or trying to educate myself on why certain things were not working when it came to my microphone or editing, whatever it may be. And if the motivation solely was money, I would have quit. I'm doing it because it's a passion. It was something that I told myself, if I don't make $1 off of this, that's okay because I enjoy it. And now that I am making money off of it, I'm like, I'm so glad that I didn't come into it with that expectation, because now that's just the cherry on top and that's the reward rather than it being the motivation. It can't be the main focus because you will constantly be disappointed. So really find your why. You can go back to my episode where I talk about treat your life like a business, and we really get down to the nitty gritty of our core values and our mission and our vision for our lives. And when the things that you do align with that, it makes everything so much easier and so much more exciting to pursue. Number 5, be authentic. I tell myself I'm not an actress, so I can't, come on and have a different persona than I do in real life. I am being myself fully in the content that I create rather than me trying to create a person that I think you would like, because that gets so mixed and muddled and it's something that you can't keep up with forever. I think that's been the easiest part about doing all of this is that I really am putting my genuine self forward rather than trying to be an internet version of myself that I think that people would like. And I think that, and when I look at my favorite content creators and the people that I love to, follow their lives and their stories and their adventures, it's because they're so genuine. It's because they naturally are themselves in front of the camera or on the mic. And I think that's what builds better community and a better audience of people who are actually curious and are interested in your life. I get the comment of like, oh my gosh, I want to be your friend, or can we be friends? And every time I'm like, yes, please, I want to be your friend. It's because of that authentic presence that I am able to bring into these platforms that people actually desire to stick around and know me on a deeper level. Number 6 is don't spend a fortune on starting. This is a testament here, again, that like you do not have to have everything together to start creating. And I think my dad used to beat that in my head, because I remember in high school or in middle school, I really wanted a DSLR camera. I wanted to be able to just take the best photos out there. And my dad kept telling me, Olivia, the moment you get that, your photos might be a higher quality, but you are the photographer. Your camera is not going to make a difference in the sense of art. It will help with quality. It will help with getting the message across, but anybody can pick up a camera and point it at something and it's a picture. Where's the artistry behind it? And it used to bother me so much, because then when I did get a camera and I would take photos, I'd be like, oh, why is this so bad? Why does it look so ugly? Like, why is it crooked and why is it blah, blah, blah? Well, it's because I didn't practice my skill. It's because I didn't actually take time to craft an art. And it's because I expected the tool to be the means to success. And that is not the case. So if you need a tripod, use a stack of books. Need a camera? Use your phone. Need a microphone? I'll give you my old one. DM me and I'll send it to you. I'm not kidding. Need props for doing user-generated content? Go to Goodwill. Don't go to Pottery Barn. Need a website? Do it yourself. I promise it'll take a while, but you'll be so proud of yourself when you finish it. And it makes me think of all the times that I've come to my brother and I've pitched him with ideas and concepts that I have that I would need a little bit of money to back it up with. I even came to him initially talking to him about buying a camera, and I was like, okay, well, would you want to like front me some money? And he's like, you can do this. And he was right. And every time I come to him, he's like, Olivia, do you really need a website for $5,000 or can you just make it yourself? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to make it myself. He's like, okay, well then no, you don't get $5,000. And he had such a good point, because why would you spend a fortune? Why would you spend $5,000 on a website when you can make one in a week that would cost you maybe $30 to get started? And I'm so glad that I didn't spend $5,000 on my website, because I want to change it already. And it's been useful, and it's doing exactly what it needs to do, but that would have been a huge waste of money. So all in all, everything that you think you quote unquote need to start, scale it back by 1,000,000. And that's what you need to start. Number 7 is set milestones for yourself. I use this wonderful tool called the EOS model, and it's a vision and traction organizer. And you start off with a 10-year target, then you have a 3-year picture, and then you break that 3-year picture down into year increments, and then you can even break it down more into quarters. It has helped me set milestones because I have that 10-year vision. I have an idea of where I want to be, but how is it that I can get there? And this has been one of the most helpful ways for me to keep track of my goals and my desires and the ever-changing ideas that I have. I will link the website where you can get a free download on there and look at more resources as well. But it has been one of the most helpful things in my small business that has allowed me to stay on track and be able to celebrate my wins when I reach those milestones. Because what you don't monitor, you can't celebrate. Number 8, get educated. I had some growing pains, especially with this dang podcast. There are endless amounts of resources on the internet for any and every subject. I think we oftentimes want to just pay for somebody to teach us rather than us putting the time into researching. I would research how other people were doing it, what they were doing, what was working for them, creating strategies for myself, for my social channels that would actually be effective, seeing what really works for other people and making it my own. Not imitating it, but not reinventing the wheel of something that actually is effective. I remember trying to edit my first video podcast episode, and I uploaded the video and I attached the audio, and there was about 40 seconds at the end of the video. And, halfway through me editing, I'm like, why is my audio not lining up with my video? Well, that's just a very common issue called audio drift, because you've got 2 different sources. But I had to learn that the hard way, unfortunately. But now that I know, it's like second nature and it's not a problem. And I found easier ways to be able to solve it. But it's all about the further you go into the journey, the more you'll learn, and there will be growing pains. But if you're going to avoid doing what you need to do because you don't know how to do it, that's not a good excuse. It's not a good enough excuse to not pursue your goals and your dreams just because you don't know how to do it. Give yourself a week, a day even, and you'll learn how to do it. Number 9 is to create an accountability plan. I think a really good example of this is my podcast. There have been some weeks, I've told myself, I am never going to miss a week. Be real, girl. Be real. Since my podcast is not the number one thing that pays my bills, sometimes my podcast is not my number one priority. And I had to implement tools of accountability for me to create content for my TikTok and for my Instagram and for my podcast and find consistency in it. And I think, I believe I talked about this before, but consistency does not have to look like every single day. I don't post every single day on all of my social channels. That would maybe kill me. But I do post regularly. And I have found my definition of consistency, and it doesn't have to look like a rigorous schedule. It doesn't have to look like every day. It's become clockwork at this point, where I know exactly where to position my camera, and I know exactly what the format of notes that will help me stay on track. And I do all of that, and I've created a routine so that I can actually have a result that I am pleased with. My word for the entire year has been self-accountability, and I don't know if I would be able to achieve the things that I have been working towards if I didn't incentivize myself every once in a while. And I think that, publishing my podcast episodes alone is a reward. But sometimes if I'm having a rough week or if I'm not feeling accountable, I will provide myself with another incentive. And that gets me moving for sure. And last but not least, number 10, count your failures as lessons. In this last year, I have failed every day at something. And I think that I have been able to remove the guilt or the shame or the judgment from failure in a way that I never thought that I would be able to. I am a perfectionist. I am a people pleaser. I want to put out things that will perform incredibly every single time. And that is just not possible. There are podcast episodes that I'm like, man, I could have done better. Or, man, that audio was really rough. Or there are TikToks where I'm like, oh, that is so bad. Or there are TikToks where I was like, oh, this one is sure to go viral. And then it gets like 5,000 views and I'm just like, oh, this is so sad. But really, everything is a learning lesson. All of my successes and wins have happened only because of trial and error, only because I saw what didn't work and what did work. And I would continue to repeat the things that did work. And I think about with my marketing clients, we have testing roadmaps where we try out new content pieces and new concepts. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Do we call it failure? No. We say that it didn't perform well and we take our learnings and optimize for the next time. And that is how I have to look at everything that I do for myself as well. Not everything has to be a home run. Sometimes those failures have lessons in there that are so necessary. I know what kind of content performs well on my TikTok. I know what kind of content does not perform well on my TikTok. And the only way I was able to learn that was by failing. So don't beat yourself up when you're trying new things or when you're learning new things and the result is not what you anticipated or were expecting. Because a year from now, if you start today, you will look back and you will say, what? How? This is incredible. Your life can truly change because of the decision that you make to start now. So my challenge to you today, right after you listen to this, write down one step that you could take. And it could be the smallest step or it could be the biggest step. But write down one step and take it in the next week. Because if I can start at 0, so can you. That is all for today's. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I'll be sure to include all of the resources that I discussed in the show notes. I will also link Colin and Samir and their channels. If you are a content creator, it is the perfect newsletter and the perfect content for you. It has inspired me and excited me to continue creating content and going after my goals and my dreams. Feel free to share your next steps with me. You can DM me at Olivia Yoko Health on Instagram and on TikTok. You can also comment on YouTube. Please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give some stars on Spotify. I so appreciate every single review. Exciting things are coming in the near future, and I'm so excited to be able to share it with you and go through this journey with you all. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you again, and I will talk to you next Monday.